a lot of women, the way they move is they're talking, they've got situationships, they've got sneaky links, they're talking to a bunch of men. I think something that's rare nowadays, which I guess at least in the past wasn't rare, is not seeing and fucking a bunch of other dudes. So I do think that in years past, that might have been the expectation when first meeting somebody, that you're not fucking a bunch of other people. However, due to, again, I think it is the bare minimum you can bring, but it is something a woman can bring to the table. If I know a girl isn't sleeping with a bunch of other dudes, isn't talking to a bunch of dudes, and is actually going to pursue me the same way I'm going to pursue her for a long-term relationship early on, that is something that a woman can bring to the table. And I would say a lot of women in today's day and age are not bringing what in years past was the bare minimum of undivided romantic and sexual attention.
See, but this was so overcomplicated by casual sex being introduced into dating, because I feel like, think about like stereotypes that you have in your head about how people dated in like the 50s and the 60s. There were girls who were talking to a lot of guys back when the word talking actually meant you're just talking to them, not you're hooking up with a bunch of people. And that wasn't a big deal because you were genuinely using dating to get to know people. And now it seems like the word dating is just used to say, I'm, you know,
sleeping
with a bunch of people. Yeah. Like it's completely changed the definition of everything. And like that overcomplicates it. I don't think that someone should give you their undivided sexual attention before marriage. And I think that sex outside of marriage and that becoming acceptable in society has just totally turned everything upside down.
I agree with her. What she's saying was absolutely true. When people say they're dating, that can mean anything, and the definition of dating nowadays has changed into rubbish. The hookup culture is a contribution to the rubbish it's turned into in today's day and age. Now when they say they're dating, they might be sleeping with several people at the same time, but then these are the same women who would want to be dating someone, but then at the same time they're also dating and sleeping with other people. Whereas back in the day, when they said that they were dating someone, they were just talking to multiple people, which was perfectly fine, because in those days, number one, they were a virgin and they were just talking to people. Whereas now when they say I'm dating someone, you don't know what is going on. They might be sleeping with multiple people, whereas back then it was the case that when they were dating for relationships and then marriage.
And overcomplicated dating to the point where it's not facilitating people getting into long-lasting relationships.
But I do think it's fair to say that sexual attention should be in relationships rather than casually.
Before we get back into the video, everyone like the video as much as possible. If you guys are enjoying the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the notification bell so that you get notified when I drop a video, and let's get back into the video.
I would say those relationships should be marital relationships.
But how do you get there? I mean, you're not just gonna pick up a guy on the street and marry them. Like, what do you how do you get to that marriage if there's no? I mean, I get it. You connect on like a friendship level and all of that, but
yeah, I've known.
How do you know?
How stupid are some people? And this just goes to show you how degenerate our society has become. She's asking, how do you get to marriage without having sexual relations with the opposite gender? It's not really that hard. You speak to one another, you're courting each other, and you're dating each other, and then you eventually get married. It's really not that hard. She's acting as if this is an impossible task to get into a relationship without having intercourse with someone. This just goes to show how degenerate our society has become, where she's asking such a stupid question.
You want to marry people who are married now who waited until marriage, and it's a beautiful
I believe it. I know people too, but I'm asking, how do you get there? Like, with that,
what do you mean? Like, do you think that having sex before marriage is like a necessity?
No, but I think that people have sexual desires no matter what, and you should go towards that sexual desire.
Why should you automatically gratify all of your desires?
Because you don't want to end up with someone unhappy. I mean, just because you're satisfying a desire doesn't mean you're going against something.
What you're saying makes no sense.
I feel like a lot of people that are saving themselves for marriage, though, are already on the same page with that, so they don't feel the need to just have sex before marriage, obviously.
Yeah, but when they're in the talking stage, are they like
they actually date?
Talking,
they don't just use the word talking to mean hooking up with people.
But what are
True.
they talking about? Just like values, morals?
The things that you should talk about when you're getting to know someone. Yeah.
Okay.
But, could be anything, just not, how big is your dick
Okay.
or whatever those other questions.
So
are.
when you're married, you're into that though. You're like, when you're married, you can be freaky with each other and that's fine, right?
It's kind of a bizarre way to describe it, but like you have a sexual relationship once there's commitment involved. Sorry. You have a sexual relationship with your spouse once there is commitment involved, and the only real commitment, at least in my worldview, is marriage. And I have such esteem, I hold that institution and that sacrament in such high esteem that I don't think anyone should go into it for the wrong reasons.
Okay. I definitely see that. I was just wondering like what the beginning stages are like for.
That's just
not
what dating
dating.
was until very,
Yeah,
very
you're right,
recently
but
in
we
human
obviously-
Am I the only one who's confused? I don't know what's so difficult to understand about being in a relationship without having the sexual aspect included in the relationship. Why is she so baffled by the fact that this used to be the norm a couple of years ago? And as I said, this just goes to show how degenerate the society has come that she can't even grasp her brain around the fact that you can get into a relationship with someone without having sex with that person. Maybe I'm the confused one, but people let me know in the comments because she seems so baffled by that concept.
obviously live in a hypersexual world, so it's
partly due to people
probably
like you, right?
hard to.
Because
Shots
I
fired.
mean,
No, I would say you're
Brian-
pointing at people at
Brian
the
is
bottom
saying,
of the
like,
pyramid
I'm
and
tired
saying it's
of-
my fault.
Guys, one
Brian
at
is
a
saying
time,
like
please.
Brian is saying I'm tired of going on a first date with someone and not knowing whether they are talking to, hooking up with a bunch of other guys. I should have a
Makes
guarantee
sense.
that we're exclusive. But also, on the other hand, girls don't have the knowledge that this guy they're on a first date with isn't watching videos of other women
Right.
having sex and doing sexually explicit things on the internet all the time. It's equally disturbing, at least to me, and you're part of perpetrating that problem on the modern dating world. Like, you do take part in
She's
that.
not
You're
holding back.
not just complicit in it. You're
Right, but you're
you are
saying
actually
I'm
perpetuating
the
that.
reason for that problem is what she said, and that's not true. I
You're-
think
Part
that
of the reason.
Yeah, part of that, but I'm also someone who grew up around a man's world. It's a man's world, and men want sex, and
Why would
women
you
are
call
gonna
this a
do-
man's world?
It's always been a man's world.
What does that mean to you?
I mean,
You mean it's a patriarchy?
institutionally, like, yes,
Institutionally?
there
What?
are men who have ran institutions, men
Actually,
who
I
have
think the
ran
reason that
media.
society is collapsing right now is because we upended the patriarchy. You've never lived in a patriarchy. I have never lived in a patriarchy. Everything is falling apart and no one is happy.
This girl is not holding back. She's saying what she's saying. And everything she's saying so far is pretty valid to me. The thing about people like this woman on the screen right now to the very right-hand side is they just regurgitate the same things that they hear from social media, their friend groups, and that's all it is. And they never understand what it is they're saying, but it sounds cool, so they just say it. We're in a man's world and the patriarchy and blah, 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 blah. Everything she said doesn't even make sense to the conversation that was at hand. The blonde girl was saying that she's a part of the issue that's going on in today's society, and then she brings up it, well, this is a man's world. What has that got to do with anything? She was just red herring. What was the point of even bringing that up?
Well, can't go against you there, I guess, if that's how you
I think
feel.
men had a pretty good system figured out until feminism
yeah, for
ruined
sure.
everything.
But men, being the sexual creatures that they are, have guided us to a society of hypersexualness.
I don't
Wait,
see
men did?
men
I can
or
agree,
women
to be
as
honest.
sexual creatures. They have a faculty of sexuality. You can temper it or not.
True.
Okay.
It's about
You don't think men are more sexually like
physiologically,
aroused?
sure. Yeah, physiologically there is a difference between men and women's sex drives. But
yes?
um,
And I think that we have made money
do you
off
really
of that
blame
in the past.
are you really blaming men's sex drives for the fact that you are
I'm
creating
not blaming
the demand
anybody.
for it?
I'm just saying what you said was not right.
me out. Am I missing this? Because when you're listening to very stupid individuals, they start to confuse your brain as well. The blonde girl was correct. She is blaming men. She's trying to say that because men are very sexual, that is the reason why I have an OF. Because men are sexual, therefore I have an OF. So she's really blaming men for being sexual for her creating her OF. Or am I the one who's confused here? That's clearly what she's saying. She's clearly blaming men, and that was her whole point of bringing up the patriarchy and how it's a man's world. I'm trying to follow how the world being run by men has led to her creating her OF because men desire that, so therefore they pushed you into creating an OF. Make it make sense.
I'm not like the reason for
So you're supplying porn but blaming men for the demand.
I think that
basically
porn
what she's saying.
can be in a good way. I don't think porn is like 100% bad. I do think that it
is 100% bad. And I think that the women around here who are not doing porn would feel uncomfortable about their boyfriend subscribing to your OnlyFans.
Okay. You don't have to. I didn't ask them to, but what I'm saying, I don't even know what I was saying anymore, actually. You can move on.
That's all we have to hear for the rest of that rubbish that went on. She got so destroyed, so baffled by what the blonde girl was saying that she forgot what she had to say, apparently. And a lot of the things the blonde girl was saying was absolutely true. She's a part of the problem in modern day society, and I also do blame a lot of men for contributing to the problems that's going on in society as well, because they subscribe to her OF, unfortunately. But anyway, that was another video, another reaction. As I usually say, if you guys enjoyed the video, like the video as much as possible, comment down below, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at YinkaThatGuy, and I am out.